I did promise I would be coming back to this deck sometime soon, and here it is. P.U.N.K, Kashtira. This is the list I finally landed on after a lot of testing, and this is the one I am most comfortable with. This is how I enjoy playing it at the minute, and it is an absolute blast. Now, there are a few bits and pieces that have changed. We have dropped the Chaos Ruler in favor of a more versatile extra deck. We just were not using Chaos Ruler, like, literally at all. It does have uses, particularly in builds that play Bestials, but in this particular version, it felt like a waste of an extra deck slot, which I know is a controversial thing. I know a lot of people love that card, myself included, but it simply wasn't doing enough in this version. We dropped Ghost Ogre because Ghost Ogre is fucking ass right now. It's good in a lot of decks and some formats, but it's just not good in this format. It's particularly not while the cash hype is live. Maybe once the cash cards die down, or when their actual full support comes out, Ghost Ogre will be more useful, but right now at this moment in time it simply is not. And apart from that, yeah, the only real notable thing is we're keeping a pretty sizable Kashtira package. I love having the Unicorn searching for Birth. Not only gives you a bunch of extenders if it actually goes through and allows you to go into multiple level 10 Exceed Synchro Summons, more importantly, it turns your Unicorn into the perfect Ash bait, which is exactly what you want to be doing, because Unicorn is one of few cards in a Kashtira deck that you would actually hit with an Ash Blossom, right? Or you would hit with an Imperm, or you would hit with a Veiler, right? Whereas that is exactly what this deck wants to bait out. They want to get rid of those interruptions so that your Xiamen, your Sharkusai, your Rising Carp, all of these cards are definitely going to resolve. So that's basically the idea. We will be covering off the deck a little bit towards the end. Probably not a full deck profile because we have talked about this quite a bit in the past. But either way, we got some gameplay lined up to sort of show off the deck. Again, a lot of the combos are things people are going to be familiar with. But if you want to sort of get a refresher, some more modern duels in this latest season, here they are. It has been an absolute blast playing this deck, and I will continue to be playing it into the future because goddamn is it great. So if you're new to the channel and you're interested in these sorts of videos or anything else that we do here, feel free to subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost you anything. It really does help out. Every little bit matters. Again, we're making tremendous amounts of progress recently on the channel. Like, I can't thank you enough. Really is amazing to see such a massive spike in growth. So yeah, let's see if we can keep riding this trend. You know, at this rate, we might even hit 2,500 by the end of the year, which is crazy to think about. Crazy. So let's just keep it going. And like the video, of course, every little bit of exposure helps out. And if you do find yourself in a position where you have the means and the desire to show a little bit more support than your fellow viewer, there are memberships available. That little join button down below, you can follow that to get more information. But basically, it's just an additional way to help out the channel if you have the means available to you. But I'll not take up any more of your time here at the start. Let's get into the games. Alrighty, this first one is really rather straightforward here, but we are going second. Our opponent opens up with Foolish Burial, sending Nimble Angler. Looks like we're playing into Sprites. This is going to be a bit of a tough one here. Sprite Blue going to grab a Jet from the deck. We're going to need to see if we have what it takes to break through a Sprite board. Top tier deck right here. Fallen in usage though, out of nowhere. I don't know why people aren't playing Sprite as much, because the deck is still bonkers, right? It hasn't suffered at all due to the format changes. I guess Unicorn kind of hurts it a little bit, but it can still play really well in the meta. I don't know why it's just dropped off. It was even dropping off before Kashtira came out. And now, again, our opponent's just doing very standard plays here, except this is where it diverges a little. They actually got a pretty new card in Pit Knight early, which is really useful because essentially when a monster this card points to activates its effect, you can target a monster your opponent controls, its attack gets reduced to 0 and it's negated, which means that your Sprite Elf becomes a negate, which is pretty good. I like that. Very good tech from our opponent here. So they're putting us in a very difficult spot right now. This is not an easy one to come back from, especially considering they're going to finish off their turn with a little carrot as well as another Ronin Toad in here. They're going to use these two going into IP Masquerena. So now they've got the Caddy, the Masquerena, the Pit Knight, the Elf, the Carrot. They got fucking everything, my guy. So we're going to have to see if we can break it. Luckily, we draw on the Kashtira Unicorn. We're going to start off with the Unicorn then. They're going to use their Milthy Caddy right away. Going to grab the Penny directly from the deck. Unfortunately, we do have Kashtira Birth in hand already. We do get to use its effect, though, in response to the Caddy to banish a card from the extra deck, but we're going to be met with an Effect Veiler. So not only do we have all of that other interruption, we also have an Effect Veiler to contend with. So we're going to need to see that. That is going to complicate things a little bit. They're going to go Sprite Blue. Sprite Blue going to grab them Sprite Red from the deck. That is fine. They're going to go Kashtira Burf here. They're going to use Carrot to negate and destroy the Burf. Actually, does it destroy? I'm pretty sure it destroys. We're going to chain to the Penny. We're going to chain our emergency teleport here. There was no reason to chain it per se. I just wanted to. We're going to bring out the Madame Spider. Now, there's a reason we're going Madame Spider. We've already got the Zeoman in hand, of course, but there is a little bit more than that. Burf going to get negated. Yeah, no, it doesn't get destroyed. It only gets destroyed if you tribute a Link or Synchro or Exceed monster. They're going to go into Avramax here. Madame Spider activating. They're going to hit Madame Spider with the Herald. And just like that, it's looking like our opponent's board isn't quite as scary as it was when they first set it up. We're going to normal summon Zeoman, activate Zeoman, grab the Deer Note. We're going to use now these two in a Synchro summon for Baron de Fleur. Avramax is, of course, going to be a pain in the ass to get around, but we're just going to have to try our best. We're going to go Baron de Fleur, pump the Pit Knight. Going to go Foxy Toon, drop 2, summon Wagon. Wagon, pay 600, grab the Field Spell. Field Spell, then we're going to activate it. We're going to use its effect to special summon out the Deer Note from our hand by banishing the Foxy Toon. I Synchro Summon into the Jam Dragon Drive. Jam Dragon Drive paying 600 life points. Gonna get searching. Deer Note gonna bring back the Madame Spider. And so we're in a position here where we could have perhaps done something a little bit better. We are going to draw a card off of this as well. We're going to use these two in a Synchro Summon for the Amazing Dragon. Amazing Dragon then going to bring back a monster from the graveyard. Back comes Wagon, so we can now use these two for a Synchro Summon into the Cheng Ying. Now, the Cheng Ying is going to be... Normally, you would just banish a card, and that's how you would trigger to get rid of Crusadia. That's fine. But we're feeling a little bit spicy. We're feeling pretty aggressive right now. So we're going to skip over that part because we have no way to proc a banish right this second. And we're just going to get straight to swinging. They're going to activate the boost. We're going to Baron negate the boost. Of course, he doesn't get destroyed because he was summoned using Masquerena. But it does mean he does not boost himself up. Cheng Ying taking out the Avramax. He now gets to shuffle a card back. He chooses to shuffle back the Amazing Dragon, which suits me just fine. We're going to wipe out that Carrot. Pit Knight then going to bring itself back from the graveyard, which is pretty cool. This card continues to come back every single turn. We are going to Baron de Fleur. We're going to try and tag it out for a Unicorn now that we've used its effect. That's why we were okay with using its effect so early like that in the battle phase, because we knew we could just tag it out in a pretty powerful boss monster in Unicorn. So I was totally comfortable with doing that. We're going to bring back the Unicorn now. Battle phase, swinging into the Cheng Ying. I don't know exactly what their plan here was, or if they had a plan here. Maybe, I don't really know, but either way, we go straight to battle phase and we just take the dub. I'm going to assume that they just didn't have any plays for that second turn. I mainly wanted to show this off because of that first turn board we broke, right? Which is pretty nuts. Now, and then turn 3, they just had no plays. It sucks to suck. It really does. And there you go. P.U.N.K. Kashtira breaking through a full Sprite board, including some hand traps, so that was pretty awesome. I was very pleasantly surprised at the fact that we were able to play through that. This game was happening on a Discord voice call, as many of the games in these videos do happen, so if you want to be more involved in the actual deck building process and the recording process, you can do so just by joining the Discord. I use it a lot. But yes, there you go. Easy game 1, getting through sprites, not a problem in the game 2. Already getting into game 2 here. Pretty interesting hand. Ultimately, if our opponent has a hand trap, then we're dead. But luckily for us, they didn't. Well, to be fair, we did have the Ash Blossom ready for a max C, so it wasn't that bad. They're going to go Charcusai. Charcusai pay 600 into the Rising Carp here. Rising Carp activating. We're going to tribute it off to summon out the Deer Note as well as Wagon. Wagon paying 600, grabbing the Field Spell. This is the standard P.U.N.K combo. Normal lineup. Activate the Field Spell. Go into the Jam Dragon. Jam Dragon activate, pay 600 to search for one, while Charcusai gets revived off the Deer Note. So this is basically your quote-unquote end board when it comes to P.U.N.K. Well, not quite yet. We, of course, get to search for Madame Spider as well, summon it out using the Field Spell. Using its effect, we search for the Trap card, and then we also draw one. So this is pretty much your typical end board where you have these 3 cards on board, at least 1 trap in hand, and a buttload of cards in your hand, right? Which could be hand traps, could be extenders like this one. We're going to bring out the Aqua Neos, go into Baron de Fleur here. I would love to summon out like Cheng Ying or Chaos Angel or something here, but it's Baron de Fleur purely because of Evenly Matched. That's it. Because of Evenly Matched, it has to be Baron de Fleur. Otherwise, I would like to summon something like a Chaos Angel there. But that's fine. Turns out we're playing into the mirror match, which is very, very interesting. Luckily for us, we have quite a lot of knowledge about the mirror match. So we're going to start with an Ash Blossom, hitting up that Foxy Tune. A-OK. They're going to normal summon Ziyaman, so they had a pretty good hand as well. They're going to search for Sharkusai, just like we did. We're going to allow that. Now they're going to use the field spell, draw one. They're going to use its effect now to try and summon out the Sharkusai from the hand. We're going to trigger off ours, summoning out the Amazing Dragon. Now we get to spin back 3 cards back to the hand, get it all out of here. Plus we get to draw one thanks to our own field spell. Pretty good. We draw into Tactics, which, you know, isn't all that important here. They're going to go Extreme Session again, and they're going to realize very, very quickly that you can't get nothing. And that's what you're going to see happen a lot of the time. Now, in this occasion, it was a mirror match, but a lot of the time, as soon as you can resolve the likes of an Amazing Dragon and bounce someone's entire field back to their hand, you're going to see a lot of scoops. And that is not only backed up by a Baron de Fleur, by the Dangerous Gabu, by an Imperm, by all these other cards, by all this draw power. With so much follow-up in our hand, we have another Foxy, Tune, and Ziyaman. It really is nuts how fluidly this deck can work under the right circumstances. So again, pretty straightforward game. I wish I had a more interactive game for Game 2, but honestly, most of them, this is how most of them go. This is just a realistic thing to expect whenever you're playing the deck and playing it right. So there you go, let's get into Game 3. Alright, a slightly longer game this time, featuring a couple more of the Kashtira cards, although more of them than I would like to be seeing. They're going to start off with Rice Heart, basically doing nothing. So I thought, okay, you know what, easy dub. We'll take this and we'll just move on to the next one. We're going to start with Unicorn here. Unicorn get Searchin. Gonna hit it with an Ash Blossom. Interesting choice, considering you know how this card works, but they're going to chain to that Kashtira Preparations, bringing back a monster that they had banished. Gonna bring back the Fenrir. Fenrir's a bit of a problem, so we're not going to tempt fate too much here. We're going to go Unicorn. The reason we're activating Unicorn is because we know that if he Fenrir banishes us, we're literally just going to summon another Unicorn or even our own Fenrir, so it literally doesn't matter. They activate Maxi here. We're going to chain Emergency Teleport. Again, you do not play in the Maxi, but you can chain E-Tele to grab another card from your deck that might be useful. We probably, in this circumstance, should have grabbed Madame Spider instead of Wagon. Madame Spider likely would have been better. But that's fine. We're going to get our Fenrir banished. Wagon's going to pay 600, grab us a field spell. Going to activate the field spell, and we're going to normal summon Ziyaman, activate Get Searching, grabbing the Ogre Dance, draw one as well. We draw into another Imperm, which is a good card. Ogre Dance, special summon itself. Now we're going to go into the Psychic and Punisher. We decide, you know what, we're going to give him a draw. We're going to take out the Fenrir, making sure that he still has more life points than us, even if it's just by 100, that's fine. And we're going to pass turn. We give him Pot of Greed, we give him 2 draws, but you know what, for a Psychic and Punisher, I think that is more than justifiable. They're going to go for Birth here. Birth is a bit of a problem because they can bring back out the Fenrir. We're going to use our Infinite Impermanence to negate that Fenrir for this turn, so that is going to, at the very least, shut them down a little bit. They do now have 2 level 7s on board though, so they are able to make some plays. They're going to go Preparations, sniping the Fenrir out of our hand. Very, very disappointing here. They are going to try and do some stuff with our Psychic and Punisher, but unfortunately, it is not meant to be. And they pass it back to us. We draw into another Fenrir. A little bit disappointing here. We decide to make... Now, this is a play that I don't think a lot of people would see coming. We decide to go Psychic and Punisher, banish itself, and Kashtira Birth. Which, questionable play, I know, but bear with me. Now that we have no monsters on board, we also get to draw a card off the field spell here, but the field spell is going to get banished by the Fenrir. Fenrir using its effect at this stage is not that much of a problem for us. Now we're going to special summon out the Unicorn. Unicorn grabs us our own Birth. Now we're going to activate Birth here using its effect, normal summoning the Fenrir in addition to our regular summon. We're going to go Fenrir, banishing Preparations, and there you go. All of a sudden, with Birth and Preparations gone, a lot of his follow-up and his recursion and stamina has been depleted alongside it. So Unicorn's going to swing in and take out the Fenrir too. But he does have evenly matched, clearing out our board after we did all of that work to try and set this up in a position where we could win. But just for it to be undone that easily. And they've got another Kashtira Birth in hand. It's like nothing happened. We're going to go Fenrir, grabbing another Fenrir from deck. That's going to trigger our Fenrir. Which is going to banish his. He's just going to special summon out the other one though. Going to swing in using his Fenrir to banish ours before swinging directly. 24 to the face. And it's not looking good for us here. Looking what we're going to top deck. We're going to draw into E-Tele. There's nothing we can do here. E-Tele summons out Xiamen. Xiamen then is going to be met, of course, with the Kashtira Birth, but the moment we activate its effect, it's just going to get banished, which means it doesn't matter what card we search for, it's GG's, and we decide to scoop it up. We played our hearts out in that game. We definitely tried. We gave it our best, but unfortunately that evenly matched cooked us. It really did. Very, very, very unfortunate evenly there. By removing all of his follow-up, we were putting ourselves in a position where we could sort of control the board a little bit better, make sure he couldn't set up anything too menacing, but unfortunately he just had the solution. There's only so much you can do about that. Sometimes it just sucks to suck. Let's get into the deck profile. P.U.N.K. Now this is the deck that in recent times has begun to define our channel, and I don't mind that at all, because it sort of just happened back when these cards initially came out, and they were so good with so many different decks that I just played them non-stop, and they have since been a staple, or the staple of the channel, which, you know, I'm not too mad about. It's definitely an extremely fun deck, very, very versatile, plenty of room for hand traps and interruptions. I mean, just look at how many we're playing in this deck alone, and it works so well with all of the new cards. It means we get to play around with new cards a lot as well. It's just an absolute blast. Let's start though with talking about the hand traps specifically. So what lineup are we running? Well, it's half the freaking deck, right? We're running triple Maxi, triple Ash Blossom. We got the Call By and Crossout. That is your Maxi package that you need to run in virtually every deck. We've got double Tactics as well as a triple Infinite Impermanence. Those are our bonus options, if you will. So there's 14 cards we're running, 14 flex spots. So you can do whatever you want with those spots. A lot of people also treat Unicorn as flex spots. Not everyone likes to play Unicorn. I think Unicorn is some of the best Ash bait in the game, so I play it. But that is entirely up to you. 14 flex spots for the purposes of this video. So, Kashtira and P.U.N.K. Two very clearly defined engines. They operate and act independently of one another, but they also intermingle fantastically through the use of level 10 synchros. So let's talk about the P.U.N.Ks. Again, we've talked about these guys a lot, so I'm going to make this nice and simple. We got 3 groups. We got level 3s, the level 5 and the level 8s. We've got the Searchers. Log on. All of these monsters pay 600 life points to activate their effects. Walk-On searches a spell, Madame Spider searches a trap, Xiamen searches a monster. Pretty straightforward. Sharkusai is the standalone card because it will pay 600 to fusion summon a monster. You can also pay 600 life points during your opponent's turn to synchro summon a monster. So this is your sort of engine card to access your extra deck during your opponent's turn, as well as your fusions during your turn. So definitely probably the most powerful of them, but you don't need to play more than one. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So that's the level 3 package. And again, that's literally, they do what they say on the tin. Dear Note. Dear Note has 2 main effects. Number 1, it can special summon itself from hand. It reveals itself and another P.U.N.K. card. You summon one, send the other to the graveyard. Normally it summons itself. You can, of course, then whenever this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target a P.U.N.K. in the grave and bring it back, so long as it's not level 5. Pretty straightforward stuff. That little bringing back of a card is exactly what you'll be doing to bring back your Sharkusai. Again, you saw it in the combos, not only in this video, but basically every other video I've made on the deck as well, so you're all very familiar with that combo. And if you're not, keep watching. I've got tons of videos on this deck. And then our level 8s, we're maxing out on the level 8s this time. We're playing 3 Ogre Dance and 3 Foxy Tune. I was sick and tired of not having access to the right starters at the right times. I think Ogre Dance is absolutely almost mandatory to play at 3, just because of how much it opens you up, as well as being, again, decent Ash bait and things like that. So yeah, ultimately, I think 3 Ogre Dance is perfect. Basically, Ogre Dance, you can discard this card to add another P.U.N.K. from deck to hand, right? Foxy Tune's a little bit different. You discard itself and another card, and you get to summon a P.U.N.K. from deck. So both of them are brutally powerful, of course, being able to extend your plays significantly. I think both are awesome. They can also both special summon themselves to the field by tributing a P.U.N.K. monster you control. So they can also summon themselves, and it's decent to have that level 8 sometimes, for sure. And then in terms of spells and traps, we of course have the Field Spell. Field Spell is nutty. This card is disgusting. Basically, it has 2 main effects. Number 1, up to twice per turn. If you pay life points to activate the effect of a psychic monster, you draw a card. Pot agreed, every turn. And its other effect, once per turn, banish a P.U.N.K. from grave, summon a P.U.N.K. from hand. excellent extender, so it extends and draws cards. What more do you want? Plus it's searchable off of your Wagon, which you summon as part of your main combo. This card's incredible. You don't need to run on it more than one, although a lot of people do run it at 2, just to get around it being destroyed or banished or anything like that, but 1 is fine if you want to minimize the amount of bricks that you've got, which is definitely something you want to do because you already play a handful of cards that you really don't want to be seeing in your opening hand. We got E-Telly, which summons out any of your level 3 psychics from deck, pretty straightforward, and lastly Dangerous Gabu, which is just a monster negate, just basically imperm. And that's the Punk cards. They're really not that complicated. Then into the Kashtira cards, we got Fenrir, we got Unicorn, we got Birth, and I'm a lump in Instant Contact in here too, I guess, although this is more of a neutral card. So, Fenrir and Unicorn, both of them will special summon themselves to the field if you control no monsters. Free summon. Fenrir can search your deck for another Kashtira monster. Unicorn can search your deck for a Kashtira trap card. Now, we were, in the past, running, of course, Rise Heart as a search target off of Fenrir. I don't think that that generates enough value, even in certain situations where it did come up, unironically, in previous videos, but I don't think it's worth the brick in the Rise Heart. Unicorn, of course, can search for a spell card, being your Kashtira Birth, which is broken. They both have an effect that will activate should they declare an attack, or if your opponent activates a monster effect. Fenrir will banish a face-up card they control face down, and Unicorn will banish a card from their extra deck face down. They're really straightforward. They're just big monsters that summon themselves and banish your opponent's cards and search for more cards. It's really not that complicated. And then you've got Kashtira Birth. Kashtira Birth will allow you to normal summon level 7 monsters without tributes. Niche effect in this deck in particular, but still definitely worth mentioning, because it can help you unbrick certain hands. But its main effect is that during your main phase, you can bring back from your graveyard or banish pile one of your Kashtira monsters, which is excellent because your Kashtira monsters are amazing. None, basically almost exclusively because of their level. Their effects are great, don't get me wrong, their effects are disgusting, but they're a free summon and they're a level 7. Automatically they're good. Like, that's it. So usually what you will do is ideally you'll summon Kashtira Unicorn. You can use Unicorn plus any of your level 3s to go into the likes of Baron de Fleur to protect yourself from the Nibiru. If you can do this before your combo, which you can easily do, we've shown it in our previous videos very handily. You can go into your Baron de Fleur before your combo even starts, protect your combo from the likes of Nib, and then your Unicorn could just be summoned right back to the field off the Birth that it searched for, giving you another level 7 should you want to go into a level 10 synchro, which you saw in the gameplay. We did it in this video. Straightforward stuff. And lastly, the sort of joint card between the two is Instant Contact. Instant Contact, you pay 1,000 life points to special summon a level 7 or lower Elemental Hero or Neo-Spacian from your extra deck. Now that's extremely useful for basically a couple of reasons. Number one, you can get access to free level 7s. Number 2, it also gives you access to a level 5 in Mariner. Now that's important because sometimes your Z-Almond gets impermed, it gets ashed, sometimes it gets interrupted, and you're not able to put Deer Note on board, right? If you can't put Deer Note on board, normally that would spell disaster for your deck and your plays, because you would struggle to go into any of your level 8 synchros, which then would help you or stop you from extending into your level 11s and so on and so forth. Now you don't need to worry about that because Instant Contact bringing out Mariner allows you to go into that level 8. Mariner also being a water means that it satisfies the condition of Adamantipator, Ryzen, Dragite, allowing this card to act as a spell or trap card negate by being a water monster engraved. So that's also a very useful aspect. And the last thing, not only does it give you access to these level 7s and level 5s, which are all water monsters for that exact reason, it also gives you access to Brave Neos, which is important because Brave Neos being a light monster means it can be used as the material for Chaos Angel, allowing all of your synchro monsters to be unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects, which is disgusting in certain circumstances. So Brave Neos, of course, being a brutal card as well. Instant Contact giving you access to a variety of these different cards definitely earns itself a place in this deck. Abso-freaking-lutely. So that's the main deck. Again, the main deck really isn't that complicated. Certain people will change it around. Some people will drop Unicorn down. Some people will cut Unicorn and Birth entirely and they'll just play Fenrir. Whatever way you decide to play it, this is just the way that I enjoy playing it most. It is entirely up to you where you want to take it from there. Let's put our deck back together. There we are. This is the deck. Extra deck then. So our 3 instant contact targets, level 5, level 7, light level 7. We got Raising Carp. Raising Carp, you will summon this off your Sharkusai. It can tribute itself to summon any 2 punk monsters with different names from the deck. You saw it in the gameplay. It's how you basically summon out your Wagon to search for your field spell alongside a Deer Note, which will enable all of your synchro plays. Pretty nuts card. This card is bonkers. This card will be the first card that a Kashtira player banishes. Do be aware of that. You may want to play multiple of this if you're a little bitch, if you're a little coward, you may want to play multiple. If you're sensible, you probably want to play multiple, if I'm being honest. But we're not. You can if you want. Nothing's stopping you. By all means, go for it. But I'm just not. In my mind, if they hit it, I'll just feign a different combo. It's not that big a deal. But maybe that's just me. So, Dragite. Once per turn, negate a spell or trap. Pretty straightforward stuff. You do need a water monster in grave to utilize that effect. So realistically, you're only going to do it after a Rising Carp or like a Mariner play. But it is very easy to get access to, and it is very powerful and wins you certain matchups single-handedly. We got the Jam Dragon Party for me in combo. On summon, you will pay 600 life points, grab a level 3 psychic monster, and either add it to hand or send it to grave. We formerly played Ghost Ogre just because it could be searched easily off of this card. You could play Ghost Ogre if you want. I talk about this in previous deck profiles. I think in this particular format, Ghost Ogre sucks. I think just in this format, I think Ghost Ogre is going to get better very soon once we get the sort of next batch of cards. But right at this moment, I think it sucks. So that's up to you. So we typically just use Jam Dragon Drive to search for Madame Spider. If we already have Madame Spider, then we're just going to search for like a Xiamen for follow-up. That's it. Also, the paying of life points helps you trigger off your field spell to draw cards. It's great. It can also bring itself back from the graveyard if your opponent activates a card or effect in response to a punk card. So basically, if they try negating one of your punks and this card's in the graveyard, it comes right back. Pretty awesome. We got Baron de Fleur, generic level 10. One spell face up negate, once per turn ignition effect, pop a card. Again, pretty brutally straightforward card. We summon this a lot because we want to protect ourselves from evenly matched. You saw in that last game how impactful evenly matched can be. Cheng Ying, another generic level 10. This card will boost itself and reduce your opponents by 100 attack and defense for every banished card, making it huge and very difficult to deal with, especially considering it can resist being destroyed by card effects simply by banishing a card out of your graveyard. And if it's face up while a card is banished, you can essentially banish a card both from your opponent's field and their graveyard without targeting. So this guy has protection, he has removal, he modulates attack and defense points, which can help you get over in some really, really pesky matchups. Brutal card, really, really good card. Chaos Angel is our final generic level 10. You'll summon this card almost exclusively off of your elemental hero Brave Neos, of course. This card isn't necessary for the deck, but I just feel like this light effect is so disgustingly powerful that it just doesn't make sense not to play it. So, on summon, you can target a card in the field and banish it, first and foremost. You can also actually summon this card without tuners, so long as the monster you would use as a non-tuner is a light or a dark monster, which is useful in a lot of decks, just not this one. So we'll not focus too much on that effect. Its main perk here is that whenever you summon it, you're going to be summoning it using a light material, which means against this effect, where your synchro monsters are unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent. That is really, really good. Like, that adds that protection to all of your synchro monsters. Your Cheng Ying, your Baron de Fleur, your Jam Dragon, your Amazing Dragon are all now immune to your opponent's activated effects, which is an incredible layer of protection. It really is. So yeah, Chaos Angel, fantastic card. Got the Amazing Dragon. The Amazing Dragon, one of your boss monsters, of course, has 2 main effects. Number 1, when it's synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of different level 3 psychic monsters in your graveyard or that you control, return them back to hand. Now that is a disgustingly powerful effect, of course, and you can use it during your opponent's turn through the effect of Sharkusai. Of course, paying 600 synchro summon during your opponent's turn. That's generally the combo you're going to set up. You saw it in the gameplay. It settles games by itself. But if that doesn't settle games by itself, it also has a second effect, where once per turn, you can target a monster in your graveyard, a punk monster specifically, and bring it back, and resummon it to the field, which is, of course, amazing. Being able to just once per turn monster reborn like that is incredible. You can only use one of its effects per turn, though, so don't get any crazy ideas. But this card is insane. I should mention, with Rising Carp, if this card is used as synchro material, you get to target a punk monster you control, and that monster can make a second attack during each battle phase. So that means that your Amazing Dragon is going to be able to attack twice under most circumstances, which of course is insane considering he's a 3000 attack, normally boosted up to 3600 by Xiamen. So yeah, this card is insane, especially in combination with Rising Carp. Bounce their whole field back to hand and then attack twice for lethal. Yeah, GG's. Psychic M Punisher. Psychic M Punisher is famed as also having been one of the main boss monsters of Punk, of course. The card seems like it was just designed for Punk. While your life points are lower than your opponent's or equal to them, this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Again, an incredible level of protection right there. It's not totally immune to everything, and it can be played around by your opponent manipulating their own life points, but it definitely does come with a higher level of protection than most cards, and that can't be overlooked considering how freaking huge it is. Speaking of huge, you can once per turn pay 1000 life points, target a monster you control and any card your opponent controls, banish both, which is great because it triggers your field spell, it's spot removal, it banishes, which is awesome. And at the beginning of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack points equal to the difference in your life points, which means if your opponent's 3000 more life points than you, this card gains 3000 attack points. And that's really good, not only because its own effect reduces life points, but all of your searchers also pay life points, including your Jam Dragon. So during your combo, you're going to pay, what, 6, 12, 18, 2400, 3000, I knew that number was in my head for a reason. You're going to pay 3000 life points as cost during just your main combo, guaranteed to pay that amount of cost. And then you've also got Instant Fusion, which will deal another 1000. You've got its own effect, which will deal another 1000. You could be at 3000 life points before the first battle phase, and then this card will boost itself up to 8500 attack points. Just for your own cards, you could enable that. You can pay 5000 life points during your first turn, of course, if you get a little lucky, and you can boost this guy up to ridiculous attack stats. But there you go. Then we just got IP and Unicorn to fill up our last spots. Quick play Link Summon during your opponent's turn. When Link summoned, spin a card back in the deck by discarding one. Just generic. Again, sometimes you're left in a position where you don't have the ability to make plays or synchro summon or do anything fancy, and being able to just put a Masquerena on board alongside anything else for Unicorn is more than enough. Sometimes it is. It's just that easy. So that's the deck profile. Again, I'm a little bit tired when recording this, so I don't know if I came across with the most energy there. But yes, if you're enjoying Punk, you will enjoy this. This deck is phenomenal to all of the Punk enjoyers out there. If anyone out there has a better build or idea or anything they want to share, maybe a tech card that I haven't thought about, absolutely, either throw it in the comments and I will get around to it, or you can throw it in the Discord where I'm always reading and always talking and interacting. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't, like if you haven't, consider joining if you have the means and desire to show that additional bit of support, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.